Have you ever felt your heart quietly break while listening to Boulder to Birmingham? Or watched Emmylou Harris glide across a stage, her voice so pure it felt almost untouched by hardship? For decades, audiences saw elegance, grace, and a woman who seemed completely at peace inside her music. But behind the applause lived a very different story, one shaped by heartbreak, uncertainty, and years of searching for a place to truly belong. Fame surrounded her, yet stability often slipped through her fingers. Love arrived, then quietly disappeared. Success followed moments when she nearly walked away from music forever. And while her voice helped millions feel less alone, she herself often struggled with that very loneliness once the stage lights dimmed. Friends would later say music became her refuge, the place where she could pour emotions she rarely spoke about in public. Each song carried pieces of loss, resilience, and hope, even when her own future felt uncertain. And long before awards, sold-out tours, and legendary status, Emmylou Harris was simply a young woman chasing a dream, unaware that the road ahead would demand more strength than she ever imagined. Long before the spotlight ever found her, Emmylou Harris seemed destined for a completely different future. Growing up in a disciplined military family, she was known as an exceptional student, thoughtful, focused, and capable of excelling in almost anything she pursued. Teachers imagined careers in law or academia waiting for her. Stability appeared within easy reach. But inside, another calling quietly grew. Music and performance fascinated her far more than the predictable path others expected her to follow. After earning a scholarship to study drama at the University of North Carolina, she imagined herself becoming an actress. Yet, college life quickly revealed a harder truth. Tuition costs mounted, classes felt disconnected from her real passion, and exhaustion slowly replaced excitement. To survive, she performed in small clubs and worked odd jobs, discovering something unexpected along the way. Standing on dimly lit stages with only a guitar for company, she realized singing felt more honest than acting ever had. Music wasn't just entertainment, it felt like home. Eventually, she made a bold decision that shocked many around her. She left college behind, packed her belongings, and headed toward the uncertain life of a working musician, unaware that the struggle ahead would test her determination at every turn. In the late 1960s, Emmylou found herself immersed in the vibrant folk scene of Greenwich Village, where music filled smoky cafes and young artists chased dreams that often felt just within reach. It was there she met songwriter Tom Slocum. Their connection grew quickly, built on shared ambitions and late nights filled with songs and conversations about the future. Believing love and music would be enough, they married soon after. Hope followed them to Nashville, where Emmylou recorded her first album, Gliding Bird. She imagined it would open doors, finally allowing her career to take flight. Instead, disappointment arrived almost immediately. The record label collapsed, leaving the album unnoticed and the couple burdened with financial stress. As bills mounted and opportunities remained scarce, the strain began to erode their relationship. At the same time, Emmylou welcomed her first daughter, trying to balance motherhood with a career that seemed permanently stalled. Dreams that once felt so close now seemed painfully distant. By the early 1970s, the marriage had quietly unraveled. Alone, nearly broke, and unsure whether music still held a future for her, Emmylou faced a moment when giving up might have seemed like the sensible choice. But fate, as it often does, was already preparing an unexpected turning point. In 1971, during a modest performance at a Washington, D.C. club, Emmylou sang mostly for small crowds who barely knew her name. That night felt no different, just another attempt to stay afloat in a career that seemed to be slipping away. But among the audience were musicians connected to former Byrds member Graham Parsons, a pioneer blending country and rock in ways few artists had attempted. Parsons was searching for a harmony singer, someone whose voice could bring warmth and emotion to his evolving sound. When he finally heard Emmylou, something clicked instantly. Her clear, haunting tone felt like the missing piece he'd been looking for. Soon after, she received an invitation to travel to Los Angeles and record with him. Working alongside Parsons opened an entirely new world. Their voices blended effortlessly, creating music that felt intimate and deeply human. Touring together across America, audiences sensed a rare chemistry between them, sparking rumors that their connection might extend beyond music. Then, just as Emmylou's career began finding direction, tragedy struck. In 1973, Graham Parsons died suddenly from a drug overdose, leaving her devastated. Yet through that loss, he had given her something lasting, belief in her own place in music. And this time, she refused to walk away. Determined to continue the path Graham Parsons had helped her discover, Emmylou formed her own band and slowly stepped into the spotlight as a solo artist. In 1975, her album Pieces of the Sky finally delivered the breakthrough she had long hoped for. Songs climbed the country charts, critics praised her emotional depth, and audiences across America began recognizing her unmistakable voice. Around this time, Canadian producer Brian Ahern entered her life. Calm, patient, and deeply supportive of her artistic instincts, he provided a sense of stability she had rarely known. Their professional partnership soon turned into romance, and by 1977 they were married, building both a family and a string of successful records together. Albums like Elite Hotel pushed her career even higher, earning awards and confirming her status among country music's leading voices. Yet success came with its own pressures. Constant touring, recording schedules, and the demands of raising their daughter slowly created distance at home. By the early 1980s, emotional exhaustion replaced harmony. Their marriage quietly unraveled, ending in divorce in 1984. Once again, just as her career soared, her personal life seemed to crumble, leaving Emmylou to pick up the pieces alone. And heartbreak, it seemed, was not finished testing her yet. Only months after her divorce, Emmylou found herself drawn once more to someone inside her professional circle. Producer and songwriter Paul Kennerly entered her life at a time when she still longed for emotional security. Their creative collaboration quickly turned personal, and in 1985 the two married, hopeful that this time love and music might finally coexist peacefully. Together, they worked on The Ballad of Sally Rose, a deeply personal album inspired, in part, by memories of her time with Graham Parsons. While the record reached respectable chart positions, it failed to match the commercial success many expected. Meanwhile, the marriage itself began facing quiet struggles away from public view. Years passed, but emotional distance slowly returned. By 1993, after nearly a decade together, they chose to separate. It marked the end of her longest marriage and seemed to close a painful chapter in her life. This time, the lesson felt undeniable. Love, no matter how promising at the beginning, often came with consequences she could no longer ignore. After the divorce, Emmylou made a quiet decision. She would protect her heart and focus on what had never truly failed her, the music, and from that point on, she chose to walk her path without another marriage. Yet even as her personal life settled into solitude, her artistic journey moved in the opposite direction, growing stronger with each passing decade. At a time when country music leaned heavily toward commercial polish, she chose a different road, staying loyal to songs rooted in tradition while blending them with folk and rock influences. The result was a sound that connected worlds rarely joined before. Her records allowed country fans and rock audiences to stand in the same room, discovering that great storytelling knew no genre boundaries. Younger artists began studying her approach, understated, emotionally honest, and never driven by trends. Many later stars openly credited her as the reason they pursued music grounded in authenticity rather than popularity. Awards and honors followed. Hall of Fame inductions, lifetime achievement recognitions, and industry tributes celebrated not only her voice, but also her integrity. Yet, perhaps her greatest accomplishment was inspiring generations of musicians to trust their instincts, even when commercial success seemed uncertain. By the time newer artists filled arenas using paths she helped clear, Emmylou remained humble, often more comfortable singing harmony than claiming the spotlight herself. And as the years passed, the restless young woman who once feared her career was over slowly transformed into a living legend, reflecting on a life few could have predicted. Today, Emmylou Harris lives far from the uncertainty that once followed her from city to city. The relentless touring schedules have slowed, and the urgency that defined her younger years has softened into reflection. Surrounded by family, proud as both a mother and grandmother, she looks back on a life shaped by risks, losses, and extraordinary perseverance. She never chased fame for its own sake, yet her voice became one of the most beloved in American music. Generations continue discovering her songs, finding comfort in melodies born from very real heartbreak and resilience. Even now, whenever she steps onto a stage, audiences are reminded that some voices don't simply entertain, they endure. Perhaps the greatest surprise is that the young woman who once feared she would never succeed ultimately reshaped the sound of modern country and folk music. Through triumph and sorrow, she kept moving forward, guided by instinct and honesty. And long after the final applause fades, Emmylou Harris's music will continue to travel, quietly, faithfully, wherever lonely hearts search for a song that understands them.